Live.
Okay, welcome everyone. This is our second Isle of Palms City Council meeting of 2021. Today is Tuesday, February 23rd, and it's 6 p.m. I'd like to acknowledge that both the press and the public were duly notified of this meeting in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. As everyone knows, this is a virtual council meeting due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Luckily, most everyone knows you can watch this live online by signing up for the Isle of Palms City Council YouTube. Please feel free to join me or not as I say a prayer to be followed by our Pledge of Allegiance and then roll call. Dear wise and loving Lord, I thank you for this life we all have on this island paradise. Lord, as always, I ask that you look over and protect the men and women of our public safety departments, the military, for it is they who go out to serve and protect us all 24/7, 365, no matter what the conditions. Please, Lord, look over and protect our city family, our residents, our visitors. Help us in making the right decisions tonight that will affect our island, our residents, and for future generations. It is in your most blessed name I pray, amen.
Amen.
Ron, could we have the flag, please? I pledge the allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Nicole, may we have roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Streetman.
Here.
Councilmember Bell.
Here.
Councilmember Moy.
Here.
Councilmember Ward.
Here.
Councilmember Pounds.
Here.
Councilmember Popson.
Here.
Councilmember Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Buchanan.
Here.
Mayor Carroll.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. I believe tonight we have 3 people signed up for citizens' comments. Ron, do we have them online?
We do. And I'm ready to go whenever you are.
Okay, let's go.
First person signed up to speak is Glenda Nemus. Glenda, can you hear me?
I can. I'll jump right in. Ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. My name is Glenda Nemus. I live at 3006 Cameron Boulevard. I'm a full-time resident of Isle of Palms. I speak for myself after having spoken to over 100 people, citizens of Isle of Palms, who have added to these thoughts. We're looking for a reasonable balance for all beachgoers. The first action that we'd like to see by City Council, and we really want to see some action here, some things to protect our livability and safety, is to protect home rule. Once we get that out of the way, then we can move on to solving the parking problems. We'd like to see the town attorney produce and send a letter to SCDOT to emphasize our home rule right to manage parking and end that debate. We'd like to make the letter available to the IOP citizens as well, and to continue with the current parking plan. And in addition, have Police Chief Cornett to enforce all the current parking ordinances, which is not now being done. Second action we'd like to see on the emergency lane, connector is for SCDOT to be put on notice that they've created an unsafe situation. We'd like to emphasize the shortcomings and lack of cooperation of SCDOT leadership. And we'd like to keep trying diplomacy, but move to the next step if needed. The third thing is we'd like to understand spending. We'd like a spending law spreadsheet. Isle of Palms needs to produce this spreadsheet for parking beach access costs versus revenues from Isle of Palms. The Isle of Palms cost for these services needs to include loss of opportunity for taxes for the Charleston County parking lot and loss of opportunity for the 4-acre IOP parking lot. We'd like the ATAX money that IOP contributes to be included as well. We feel that a lot of ATAX money for accommodations is spent for this purpose, and we feel that should be part of it. We'd like these facts presented to council and citizens of IOP and any other group that needs to understand. And last, we'd like to ask Senator Hampson to address his IOP constituents next Tuesday at a special council meeting. We'd like to hear where he is and what he's doing to help us. I have 10 other specific action items to improve our position for livability and public safety and smart growth when these are achieved. But I put these out right now as a challenge to the council to work on, and please try to develop a communication channel
Glenda?
so that we can hear back from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Glenda, so much. Mr. Ron.
Okay, and give me just a second here. The next person signed up to speak is Bill Barber, and I'm going to go ahead and admit him now. Bill, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
All right, you are live.
All righty. Mayor, council, thank you for having me tonight. I wanted to talk about the hiring of the fire chief tonight and some behavior patterns I've seen traditionally that went along with this. This specific issue is not one I've been following. I was contacted by several fellow residents this week with some concerns about this process. After hearing their concerns, I went back and watched the special meeting on the subject, and as you know, it was one big executive session. So my response to them was, this is business as usual. I understand the session qualifies for executive session for some discussions, but my challenge to you guys would be, when you know there's a decision that's going to be contentious, what is not required to be in executive session? What transparency could have been provided? What additional communication outside of council meetings could mitigate this? Could other stakeholders have been brought into the process? The default answer seems to be, let's do everything in executive session and call it good. The additional perception is everybody kind of goes along with this methodology because while some folks may not care about executive session for this topic, they may have one further down the road that they want protection of executive session, and even when that protection is not required. This creates a lot of problems with trust. The process in kind of question here may have been done 4.0 for all I know. A lot of folks feel it wasn't. Again, poor communication, poor transparency, a history of not following processes. Their claim is pretty much immediately given legitimacy, and I think it needs to be investigated further before action is taken. I'll close with this. I noticed a former council member of yours provided a written comment, basically, and I don't want to try to quote her or give, a paraphrase her, but my interpretation on what she wrote was, transparency wasn't an issue when I was on council, but now that I'm not, I see that it's a real issue and people are not just complaining. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Ron?
All right, the next individual signed up to speak is going to be Gary Nestler. Give me just a second. He's being admitted now. Gary, can you hear us?
I can, sir.
You are live.
Make sure I got everything here. All right, thanks, Ron. My comments pertain specifically to the hiring method of a new fire chief. And let me be crystal clear, this is not about the candidates themselves, their skill sets, abilities, or knowledge. This is about honor, respect, confidence, and above all, safety. and it's not a popularity of any one individual, internal or external. This is about criteria and input specific to the fire service. What has worked very well with the hiring of our city administrator and our esteemed police chief, unfortunately, is misaligned with the requisite of what is warranted for a lead role in any fire service organization. And due to the absence of industry knowledge from our council members, with few exceptions, this method was completed in a vacuum, riddled with questions of acceptable behavior and assessments used. Again, absence of what is warranted in the fire service, one that demands required input from all service personnel. Unfortunately, what has been created is a potential of putting all residents, visitors, and leadership of our island at tremendous risk. Being present at council meetings via Zoom and observing the process as it unfolded, it's quite apparent that there still remains strong dissent between the mayor and various city council members. The question is, what makes them uncertain about any candidate or the method used? Keep in mind that there was a unanimous vote for the external candidates. However, once the offer was declined and both external candidates failed to proceed, the votes were no longer unanimous. We must ask the question of what caused the divide between the various council members themselves, including the mayor. Given that this position is so critical to life and safety on our island and as our residents, it is imperative to have a vote of confidence by all council for the next fire chief. It must be unanimous. And again, it doesn't matter who the candidate is. City council should know better, and if nothing more, to demonstrate respect for these two internal candidates that are left under consideration, and enough to guide them to unity, and not create a potential irreparable divide between those who have worked together for so many years and decades. This unnecessary divide might very well put us all in jeopardy. City Council and Mr. Mayor, you are our public servants, and we implore you to empower our leaders as opposed to again divide them and make them the unfortunate pawns in a chess game of political theater. If you truly believe the selection method used was appropriate, then let it stand up to the rigors of other well-respected leaders in the fire service in our greater community, and they'll allow them to audit your selection criteria and opine on the final decision. After all, they depend as much on our fire service personnel as we do theirs in the time of need. If you learn nothing more than humility and grace, you will have been given a unique opportunity to witness firsthand what it is to serve in the fire service, where their lives are always at risk each day, and the guarantee of them coming home to their families is never a certainty. Thank you, City Administrator Fregoso, and your staff for your continued service to our community. I'll yield my time back to Assistant City Administrator Hannah.
Thank you, Gary. Okay. We also had written comments. Everybody can see those online. They will be posted. Ron, do we have any idea how many we had?
We had around 20 to 30. I didn't count an exact number, but they are posted online next to the agenda.
Thank you very much. Let's move on our agenda. Number 3, consent agenda. Approval of previous meetings minutes. Our last council meeting, January 26th. Special meeting, February 2nd. Special meeting, February 10th. And special meeting, February 17th. Do I have a motion to approve? I have one motion. Second? Any discussion? Hearing none. Nicole?
Councilmember Bell,
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman. Thank you. Councilmember Pounds,
Aye.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Councilmember Moy,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Popson,
Aye.
Councilmember Buchanan,
Aye.
Mayor Carroll,
Aye.
all in favor?
Thank you very much. Moving on, reports from standing committees. Mr. Chairman Pounds.
Thank you, Mayor. If you're all right, I'm going to do a quick financial review. We will vote on a couple items we need to vote on, and then I'll review the minutes if that's all right. From
Yes,
that.
sir, please, it's your show.
So Ron, if you will put up the one-page financial summary through January, that would be great. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. So these are results through the end of January. You can see revenues on the top left-hand side of about 12.6 million. That includes one-time bond proceeds. So if you can see in the first footnote, kind of comparing apples and apples from the previous year, our revenue is 8.6 million versus last year about 9.1 through this time, and so that's about not quite $500,000. And most of that is in hospitality taxes, not unexpected, and the Charleston County accommodation pass-through that is not been passed through. We might need to rename that since it's not been passed through, but that's a different story. Expenses are about 11.15 million. You can see second bullet, $3 million difference from this time last year. Most of that's due to the public safety building and $600,000 for the refurbishment of the 95-foot ladder truck. Bottom part of this graph looks at general fund only, revenues on the left-hand side, expenditures on the right-hand side. And based on our current forecast, it looks like we'll wind up the year in much better shape than we thought we would, with about a $500,000, almost $600,000 difference, but revenue over expenses. So all in all, a pretty decent year. At the end of January, we have cash on hand of about 27 million. Again, that includes some bond proceeds. So we're projected to end our fiscal year at the end of June with about 20 million. And of that, about 8 million is restricted. Okay, thank you. Any questions on that? Ron, if you'll just go to the Salmon's page, I would appreciate that. Thank you. So these first couple of items, Mayor, that we need to vote on, we had lengthy discussion last week in Ways and Means, and I will try and recap that at a high level. I don't feel like I did a very good job last week in kind of setting the stage for this particular change order with regard to the Marina project. So I want to spend a little bit of time, if you're okay, I will make the motion. And if we can get a second, and then if I can just make some opening comments, Mayor, I would do that before we open up for discussion.
Absolutely, please.
So I would like to make a motion that we approve a change order in the amount of $228,505.69 to Salmon's Dredging for the construction of the Marina fuel hut, re-engineered fuel hut support flotation, and other modifications to fuel dock required for Marina Dock Rehabilitation Project to be offset by $36,400 paid by the Marina manager.
Second.
So Mayor, just a couple of quick comments. Ron, if you'll go back up just a little bit, please, sorry. So just to make sure, again, for council maybe, and definitely for residents that did not watch Ways and Means last week, I want to spend just a little bit of time talking about what this is and maybe more importantly, what it's not. So item A is the first piece on this, and you can see the revised bid for the fuel hut is $166,403. Our original bid was $130,000. So this revised bid is a fuel hut that is just slightly larger than the fuel hut that sits there today, and primarily to make it ADA compliant. So it's not a 1,200 square foot building. It's not a bungalow. It's not a hangout for our Marina staff. It is a fuel hut almost identical in size to what is there today, again, just for ADA compliance. So again, our first bid was about $130,000 roughly. Our new bid is $166,403 based on some design changes, some exterior elements that our Marina manager wanted, who is, again, as in the motion, is contributing cost of $36,400 to this particular cost, as well as about $11,000 in some architecture costs that our Marina manager is picking up. So that's the first item, item A. So item B, in my opinion, where most of our angst should be directed, is in a miscalculation of the weight of this particular fuel dock that has required a platform larger with more support to support the weight. There's no other way to say it other than there was just a miscalculation of the weight based on which has increased the size of the platform. So that change order part is 53,300 rough numbers. Then the last two items are a little bit technical in nature, but required for what we need. The only comment I would make is on item C, we're adding additional hose length of 120 feet, which we have currently today. So again, to me, this was a miss either by Petroleum Marine, Salmon, ATM, somebody, because we have 120 feet today. And I think in the original bid was 75 feet. So Mayor, that's kind of a quick explanation for anyone that wasn't listening last week. So I don't know if Kirby or Desiree have any updates from our Ways and Means meeting from last week, because there were a couple of takeaways from that session. So Desiree, I'll give it to you before we open up for general discussion, if that's all right.
Yeah, sure. I do want to update you on what we have been conversing since last Tuesday. One of the questions that came up during that meeting was looking into maybe moving the fuel dock office upland. We discussed that with the Marina manager at length and with Kirby. And after much discussion, the cost associated with doing that would not change significantly from what we have currently, other than that flotation device. There are some significant operational challenges associated with moving that, one of which would require an additional staff member from the marina manager to not only be down at the floating docks, coordinating the assistance to people who are tying to the floating dock, but also having another staff member upland. Another component that we were looking at was a prefabricated option. And I'll let Kirby speak to this because I know that he had multiple conversations today regarding this. And unfortunately, we haven't been able to connect today. And we're going to be, I'm going to be hearing some of the findings that he had on this topic today. But again, I think at the end of the day, the cost savings associated with a prefabricated solution is not significantly different than what we currently have. And there's some unintended consequence associated with that option. But we did look into it as part of our discussion from Tuesday, and I'll let Kirby speak to those points before I go any further.
Hi, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, great. Good evening, everyone. As Desiree mentioned, we did look into alternate construction methodology for the fuel hut. Right now, what's being considered in the Salmons change order is a traditional stick-built type of structure, wood frame, built in place. We researched, and ATM has worked on projects previously where prefabricated structures are installed to serve these types of purposes. We reached out to a few different suppliers and found one in particular that seemed to be able to provide a product very similar in nature and aesthetic to what we are considering with the replacement of the existing fuel hut or the minor modifications and aesthetic improvements that the marina manager has prescribed and are being considered for ADA compliance. We got a base price for a very similar looking fuel hut without any awnings or covered area of about $70,000. Still would require the longshoreman's insurance, would require interior fit out, would require HVAC, would require installation and connection to the floating dock, would require the construction of the a covered area, either via a wooden type structure or a fabric awning, and would require some custom cabinetry and windows to provide the point of sale kind of short order window that is currently in place in the existing fuel hut to protect the marina staff from too close interactions with the marina customers. All in, what we found with the prefabricated option, we estimated about $125,000. If we were to go that route, Mr. Berrigan has indicated that he would not be interested in providing the $36,000 as match. And we would be essentially right back to where we started with replacement in kind for a stick-built structure. So I think it was a good exercise. It yielded some numbers that were initially encouraging. But when we looked at and really drilled down to the entirety of what it would cost to execute the prefabricated structure in this application, there's just not a significant cost savings.
Yes, sir. So this is your show.
That's all right. Desiree, you want to make a closing comment to that?
Yes, I just wanted to reemphasize that even the prefabricated solution would not eliminate the need for the adjustment to the platform because the weight would be the same.
Yeah,
just
that's
wanted
correct.
to clarify that.
That good point, Desiree. Yeah, the weight of the prefab unit is essentially exactly the same as the stick built option.
Rusty, question?
Not really a question, a couple of comments here. You used the word angst, Mr. Chairman, and I agree with that because on a couple of different levels. I know at the real property meeting we had back on February the 1st, we knew that it was maybe a situation where we might have to increase that the budgeted number, and also that there was some information that might be coming in that would be cause us to have to entertain some sort of change order. Problem is, I had no idea that it was going to be nearly as much as what it ended up being at 228,000 and change. But when I look at this, and I spent a good bit of time at the marina on Monday, just walking the property, and I was there with the marina manager quite a bit of the time, but by myself part of the time also. And I look over this, where my biggest issue is that it looks like we had a bid put in place that was just absolutely missed. I mean, it was under bid to from the get-go, in my opinion. We didn't have longshoreman insurance included in the original bid, as I understand it. We bid on the weight of a hut at 2,100 pounds, and it actually weighs about 7,000 pounds, if I remember correctly. And I look at that and say, how could we miss that? How could that be missed when we have professionals doing this for us, working with us, and we end up with, having 3 bids, and we took the lowest bid, but the lowest bid also did not have accurate information in it from the get-go either, as I understand it. So, and then to sum it up, it doesn't matter whether if you put the same fuel hut back on the in the same place, you're still going to have to replace that platform. That platform's got to be redone. It's going to be the same footprint as before. If the platform itself is going to be larger, but we're not adding any dock anywhere, and that's my comments there. I think that we really need to look the next time we do something like this. We need to really look and question as to whether we've got an accurate bid in, or we're just taking the lowest bidder because that's the low number. Thank you.
Randy?
Yeah, very similar comments. I don't know if this is right or wrong. I know the process is deeply troubling. I mean, we were off 6 figures, significant 6 figures on the bulkhead. We're off significant on this. We haven't even started the dock project. And, just by process, having been on real property committee, these things need to be fully vetted by the appropriate committee, not brought to Ways and Means, not with our backs to the wall, frankly. The last conversation, everybody's concerned about timeline, and Desiree or Kirby, you can correct me if I'm wrong. We flipped the timeline. This is the last item in the dock project, not the first in there, right? And estimated to be, somewhere in the June timeframe, for completion of this. So I don't think that we had a time crunch as was put forth. But a bigger question to ATM: how many times is ATM going to not give us the right information while we're paying for consulting with no financial culpability, right? Somewhere along the way, the city's always left holding the bag for poor consultation, whether it's ATM, whether it's salmon dredging. But I got to tell you, this concerns me deeply because we haven't even started the docks, right? And we're flipping around $600,000 in contingency funds as if it's not a big deal. We can just spend an extra 100,000 over here, no worries. But is there? I don't. We always laugh about the over and under on how long these meetings will go. Is there anyone who wants to take the over and under on whether we'll consume that $600,000 on the dock project? I mean, there's a ton of risk in that, and we're sitting here with we can't even get out of the gate between the bulkhead and the fuel hut with paid consultation without significant dollar misses. And my perspective here, this should be still kicked back to the real property committee, fully vetted, the engineering designs looked at and understood as to the weight, what's in that weight, and come before council as something that on a personal level that I would have confidence in. I don't have confidence in this. And there's been nothing offered to give confidence other than excuses for why we have a problem.
Other, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir. Rusty, would you go over those weights again? Was it 2,100 pounds versus 27,000?
Yeah, yes, Mr. Mayor, roughly speaking, I may be off a little bit. I don't think I am, but based on what I had understood, the bid was put in at 2,100 pounds or so. For the fuel hut.
2,500.
25, okay. And it ended up being somewhere in the neighborhood of 7,000 pounds.
7,000. Okay.
That's
thank
the
you.
accurate number.
All right.
So we got 2,500 in the bid versus 7,000 in reality.
And I go back to my original Ways and Means comments that we had a hut that was 196 square feet. And the new hut is 20 square feet bigger, which is 216 square feet. The old floating dock was 576 square feet. The new one is 1,224 square feet. We're 20 square feet bigger in the hut. That's 648 square feet larger. That's the average size of the original J.C. Long homes in Isle of Palms.
But again, that's the platform. Mr.
That's
Mayor,
the platform for a 20 square foot bigger building. I'm sorry, that's just want to get those points out. Thank you.
Yep. Susan.
Thank you. Those
And then
are
Ryan,
all.
sorry.
You're fine. I was
Am I good?
Yes.
Those are all very relevant points, and none of us like surprises. However, there are a variety of factors that were leading to the escalation of costs here, and I'm afraid that if we continue to kick this down the road, we're looking at some further issues. If we don't have this done by the summer season, we could be potentially 4th of July without a fuel dock, and that has its own costs. So I'm not quite sure, unless you're planning to try and suggesting that maybe we rethink the bidding here and rebid this and find another company because of the gross difference in their calculations. What you're proposing and what we hope to accomplish by sending this to committee, if anybody wants to address that.
Yeah. Ryan, go ahead. Sorry if I missed you.
No, I apologize. I was looking for the mayor for recognition as chair, but that's fine. It was in the meeting. The only thing, and the mayor brings up the idea that we're expanding the footprint of the dock around the fuel hut. But the thing is we have to realize is we're not going like for like on this dock. If we're going like for like, we'd put in the same existing size pier heads, which we know are the wrong size. And we'd put in the same size boat slips. And we are expanding and improving the footprint of our marina. And that's one thing we have to take into account. If we want to do it like for like, we could probably bring this cost down. There's no doubt about it. But you know what? We're going to have the same problems that we're having now that we've, in the future that we are having now. That the piers are going to be unstable. The hut right now is unstable. I went in there about 2 yearly passes this week, and so they got my $200. But but the thing is, it's not a stable footprint, and because of the weight distribution. Another thing is the city. We have a track record. We are not a good landlord, no matter what we do. Okay, and that's the case. And we are a city to govern and not manage property. So we have to take on those recommendations that we get from our engineers. The same way that we took on the recommendations of our committees this past week. And we have to hold some faith in that. We can question it. There's no doubt about it. But yeah, there's a lot going on down there, and there's definitely some room for improvement. But it has been deferred maintenance for 35 years. So we need to realize that we need to act on that.
Yep. Thank you, Ryan. John, and then the mayor.
Thank you. I'm gonna agree with Councilmember Buchanan's position, but disagree with something he said, and then I'm gonna disagree with Councilmember Bell's position, but agree with something that he said.
Hang on, John. I'm keeping score, man.
And my disagreement with Councilmember Buchanan is actually to check an assumption. So I'll maybe at the end of my comment ask for a response from maybe Desiree and Kirby. But the like for like comment, Ryan, that you made, what I was to understand is actually we can't do a like for like, because a like for like fuel hut would necessitate a new fuel dock. And the expense that we're actually debating right now is with regard to the dock. And the current dock that's there now is also 6,600 pounds, I believe, if my memory serves. But either way, it's significantly more than the 2,500 that was designed by the dock. I don't think that we actually really could do a like for like. And my understanding is that Desiree and Kirby did exhaust all of their, went to great lengths to look for ways to figure out how can we do a like for like and not have to take on this additional $52,000 plus whatever else items C and D expenses that are required. So from my standpoint, I don't think there's a lot of options here. I also agree with Councilmember Smith. I don't know what we achieved by going back to committee at this point. I do agree, however, with the commentary from Councilmember Bell that at the end of the day, we're paying ATM a lot of money to be our experts and to guide us because none of us have expertise in building marinas and designing marinas. And so we very, I would say, well advised have gone to the experts to say, tell us what should we budget when we're doing our bond? How much should this cost? And we're trusting you to come up with those numbers. How do we have confidence now moving forward that our existing contingency is going to be enough? And at what point does ATM start to carry some of the load for some of these, significantly misjudged estimates?
Good comments, John. Thank you. Desiree or Kirby, do y'all want to respond to that before we go further?
I'd be pleased to. So I take exception to Councilmember Bell and Councilmember Moy's comments. ATM has faithfully served the Isle of Palms on this project and others, particularly this project, for 5 or 6 years now. And we have endeavored at all times to treat your money as if it was ours. This fuel hut was bid as a design bid alternate. We're marina experts. We don't design buildings. We put it out as a design bid alternate. We got 3 bids in. The low overall base bid was Salmon's Dredging. They had a alternate price for the fuel hut to replace it in kind of $130,000. Based on our experience in other venues and based on one of the other bids received from one of the other bidders on this project, we, ATM and the city, felt that $130,000 was too high. And we endeavored to find some ways to drive that cost down. At that point in time, the marina manager engaged Evans and Smith Architects on their dime to come up with some conceptual designs for the fuel hut that would serve the marina manager's needs and stay within the spirit of what the existing hut provides in terms of amenities to the marina. We got that cost for the initial concept of that. It was priced by Salmons and a couple of other contractors, and it was too high. So we sent it back again to Salmons and said, this is too much money. You need to come back and give us a more Spartan option. And they did. Evans and Schmidt went back with Brian, gave us a more Spartan fuel hut, and that's the one we're considering now. Salmons priced it, and it came out to be the 166. The angst that was mentioned earlier, we share completely. During the design process with Evans and Schmidt, they gave us an estimated weight of the fuel hut at 7,500 pounds or thereabouts. When we presented that information to the dock supplier that was selected for the project, that's when they presented that $40,000 or $50,000 change order that we all have so much consternation over right now. They admitted, the dock supplier admitted in a call with ATM and Salmons Dredging that they assumed a very aggressive weight on the fuel hut of only 2,500 pounds so that they could drive their cost for the platform to support the hut, which was included in the base bid. The platform was included in the base bid so that they could drive that down to have a better shot at winning this public competitive project. Both Salmons and ATM condemn that type of bidding behavior, but we did not know that until we got into the formal design process for this hut. So when we were presented with the final number that you're contemplating tonight, we shared your angst and we continue to share your angst. We have invested, ATM and Salmons both have invested substantial hours, time, effort, money to find alternative solutions to help drive this cost down. I mentioned the prefabricated hut option earlier. We researched that substantially. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to provide the level of savings that will really affect the bottom line here. We also researched at the request of Councilmember Moy, utilizing an alternate dock supplier to provide the platform for this hut. I reached out to Miko Sullivan, who's a national floating dock manufacturer that ATM has done numerous projects with all over the country. We recently completed a project with them in Burlington, Vermont on Lake Champlain. It included a large floating building and a small fuel hut, a little bit larger than what we're contemplating here. I got a cost from them to provide a separate platform for this project where we would not consider the $53,000 ad that we're talking about here for this enlarged platform, and we would seek a credit from Salmons and Structure Marine for the platform with the very aggressive weight limitations that they assumed and included in their original bids. I worked through the numbers today, contemplating the preliminary pre-design information quote that I got from Miko Sullivan and the bid numbers that we're looking at now from Structure Marine for this larger platform. And I calculated that we could potentially achieve a $15,000 savings based on the weight of the design fuel hut. I mentioned this to Salmons Dredging, and they expressed extreme reservations about integrating two different dock systems so close together, matching freeboards and maintaining full ADA compliance. The dock supplier didn't quite have as much consternation, probably because they're trying to sell docks, but I trust Miko Sullivan. We've done many projects with them very successfully. That being said, Salmon's response to that was, this could be a quote nightmare. So there are a lot of unknowns with regard to using a separate dock system to float the hut. Matching freeboard is one, ADA is another, anchorage, calculation, availability in terms of schedule, all those things come into play. There may be some cost savings available with that, but it also doesn't appear to be dramatic. So with that, I think that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Ron. Desiree.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I support and are behind 100% behind ATM and the work that they have been doing for the city. We have been working with them for over 6 years. I know they're invested in this project. I know Kirby and I are going to jump off that fuel dock when this project is done in celebration. But they have been meticulous, they have been thoughtful, and throughout this whole process, the amount of work that has gone into trying to get this number to a manageable amount is enormous. And I just want to express my gratitude to the work that ATM has done and Salmon's Dredging in pushing back to a proposal that none of us likes. And it's just a set of circumstances associated with the way that the project was bid by the low bidder that we found ourselves into, here. But, my experience has been nothing short of impressed with the work that ATM has done on behalf of the city, and certainly stand behind that.
Thank you, Desiree. Mayor and then Kevin.
Okay, and this my number two and last. Kirby, number one, ATM and Salmons are stellar companies, and I can't thank y'all enough for the quality work you do. Councilmember Buchanan said, and I quote, that we are horrible developers and landlords. We failed miserably our city residents because this is their marina.
You don't have to quote me.
We took the low bid on the public safety building, and look what we got, and we had to rebuild it. Councilmember Streetman sent me some pictures this weekend of the bulkhead and the newly coated bulkhead, and it's already rusting. So, I mean, is that what we're going to get with the low bid, is we're going to have to recoat it in a couple of years when it's brand newly coated and rust is coming through? Rusty, am I correct in saying that?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. End of my comments. Thank you.
Kevin, and then Jimmy.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Mayor. First of all, let me agree with a lot of the comments. I agree with the surprise and the angst. And I hope I'm right in saying this, but the original fuel hut came to us months ago at 133. It's now 136 with the marina manager picking up the difference. So it really comes down to the discussion of this 53,000 on a larger dock. And again, it's a surprise, and we're asking to pay for a stronger dock, and we're being advised that way now. So I'd rather go with a stronger platform than a weaker one, and one that's going to last us a long time. We've had this marina for a while, and we need to do it right. We're half pregnant with this dock, so we need to keep on going and get this thing done. We've got to get the project done. We've got the summer coming, and we got a lease with the marine manager. So even though this is a big number and a surprise and angst, I think we got to keep moving. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. And just for clarity purposes, our original bid was 130. The new bid's 166. So marina manager's putting in 36.4, just for confirmation.
Sorry if I got those numbers wrong.
That's all right. I just want to make sure we're talking real deal. Jimmy Ward.
My experience with ATM and dealing with the city is that we have a really good history with them. And I trust Kirby explicitly. I do not question in any manner whatsoever their integrity or their professionalism or their thoroughness in trying to save us some money. I think that we need to move forward. Summer's coming, as Kevin said. And so I have complete faith in Kirby, and I think he's doing the best job he can for the city. I do not question his integrity or professionalism at one bit.
So Randy, go ahead.
Yeah, just so Kirby's clear, I'm not questioning his integrity either. I've worked with Kirby now for this is the 4th year. So please don't take that as a question of integrity. It's very frustrating to see these things come at us. I got one quick final question. So the low bid from the dock supplier, no recourse? I mean, that seems to be the place where the problem was created. Do we not have any recourse to go back to them and say, look, guys, you bid for 2,500 pounds or 2,100 pounds. What were you thinking? Where's your contribution?
I agree with you, Randy. And Salmons and I have had that conversation on numerous occasions. They have pushed back on the dock supplier on numerous occasions. The dock supplier, unfortunately, has at this point dug their heels in. Again, I share the angst. Salmons shares the angst. The overly aggressive assumption by the dock supplier, and I'm not necessarily trying to throw them under the bus, but that's the cause of a lot of this situation is that's not how ATM and Salmons does business.
Yep.
And I feel like that assumption is causing a lot of this to reflect poorly on our companies. So, however, based on the project schedule and the options available, I don't know what recourse that we have. We have pushed Salmons as hard as we can, and Salmons has in turn pushed Structure Marine as hard as they can to drive that number down, and that it's as low as we can get it.
Yeah, excellent explanation, Kirby.
Mr. Mayor, we have a motion and a second, so I'll let you take it back from here.
Okay, Nicole?
Councilmember Streetman,
Aye.
Councilmember Bell,
Aye.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Councilmember Moy,
Aye.
Councilmember Popson,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Buchanan. I didn't hear you. Aye. Okay. Councilmember Pounds,
Aye.
Mayor Carroll.
Nay.
The motion passes 8-1.
Thank you. Mayor, one more item real quick before we run through minutes. Again, I'll make it in a motion to approve an amount not to exceed $10,000 for the development of engineered plans for building permit approvals for the Marina Fuel Hut. So that's in the form of a motion.
Good. Second? Mr. Chair?
Yep. Questions, comments? Kevin?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I brought this up at Ways and Means, and this really kind of gives me a lot of angst. We're spending all this money with Salmons, and they want us to pay for drawings and structural and plans, and I just don't agree with that. I mean, as a contractor, I have to include drawings, structural, and plans. And I know it's only 10,000, and we just spent 228. So it's more of a principle thing to me, but I think this is their cost. Thank you.
Thank you. Desiree or Kirby, any comment or reaction to that?
Yes, Kevin, I agree with you. We've got kind of a weird situation here where after we rejected the alternate bid that was originally included in Salmon's cost, we had a meeting with Brian at his office with Salmon's to discuss ways to drive down the cost of the fuel dock. Desiree was there at that meeting. That's at that time, that's when Brian offered to engage the services of the architect. He's done so, as Desiree mentioned, to generate the preliminary designs, the weight calculations, the preliminary structural loads, and things of that nature. This additional cost is something that Salmons didn't include in their pricing of the actual construction of the dock. But is required, as you know, being a contractor for pulling the permits through the city. So it was a little bit strange how the design responsibilities for the hut came to be, with Brian kind of being involved and toting the initial costs of that, and now offering to contribute the 36.4 to the physical construction. But Yeah, the 10,000, as we discussed last week, is a placeholder. The preliminary number that we got from the architect is $6,000 for these plans. I believe that there will be a little bit additional coordination just with regard to anchoring to the floating dock system. And we want to have just that little bit of wiggle room on top of the 6 so that we don't have to come back and come in front of you mid-process again.
Susan.
Yeah, just a point of clarification. Kirby, you said that, so per our last item, the marina manager is paying offsetting costs by $36,400. Has he also contributed further funds than that $36,400? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, he's spent $11,000 to date on the preliminary planning, conceptual design, preliminary structural, and things of that nature for the hut.
So his cost in could get close to 50,000 after he.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am, that's correct.
Thank you.
Randy.
Yeah, I just want to make sure. So this was included originally until there was design change recommendation. Now it's not included. And just to the comments with the marina manager, that dock is solely to the benefit of the marina manager, right? So, you know, I wouldn't co-mix the numbers. I have to agree with Councilmember Popson. It just seems to me this should be included. And, you know, at some point we got to draw a line somewhere.
Anybody else? Mr. Mayor, we have a motion and a second.
Okay, Nicole?
Mr. Mayor, can we restate what we're voting on
Yeah.
here?
Trustee, I'm happy to. We're approving an amount not to exceed 10,000 for the development of engineered plans for building permit approvals for the Marina Fuel Hut.
Now, Nicole.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Buchanan. Aye. Councilmember Ward,
Nay.
Councilmember Moy,
Aye.
Councilmember Popson,
Nay.
Councilmember Bell,
Nay.
Councilmember Streetman,
Nay.
Councilmember Pounds,
Aye.
Mayor Carroll.
Nay.
The motion fails 5-4.
All right, thank you, Mayor. I'm gonna run through the minutes from the Ways and Means Committee real quick. We met on Tuesday, February 16th at 6 p.m. via Zoom due to COVID-19. All members were present. We had a financial report from our treasurer Suggs that we covered in a pretty high level tonight. Had the 2 issues we just voted on. The other items we talked about, we had a discussion and consideration. Sorry, we just did that. Never mind. We had a discussion and consideration of the potential Dominion Energy non-standard service fund projects. Good recommendation from Dominion and our Public Works Committee. A lot of discussion. We're returning that issue to the Public Works Committee to further refine the projects and come back with specific recommendations to use the non-standard service fund. Also had a discussion of fiscal 22 expenditure assumptions and 10-year capital plans to create our fiscal 22 budget. And the last item, we deferred to a budget workshop discussion of a merit pool for fiscal years 21 and 22. So we'll hit that in our workshop next month. Miscellaneous business, next item is, next Ways and Means Committee is Tuesday, March 16th at 6 p.m. And that's it, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on, public safety.
Public Safety Committee met at 3 o'clock Thursday, February 4th. All members were present. We had additional, and staff was present as well. We had additional participation from Robert Perry and Nick Boozer from SCDOT, as well as Christopher Reed and Abby Whitney from Lovello. We had, I'm just going to summarize citizens' comments. We, such a non-controversial subject as the connector. We had over 100 citizen comments, frankly, over 150. I broke them down from resident and property owners to off-island commentary. And there were about 100 off-island, and of those, about 95% thought the connector changes were a great idea. And about 95% of the balance from the citizens' comments from Isle of Palms thought it was an awful idea. In fact, I think there were only 2 comments from people living on the island that thought these changes were in the best interest of public safety. So we had presentation from these participants from SCDOT. I think for those that were in the meeting, Councilmember Ward and Pounds, we were all shocked that week that this was a plan that had not been vetted by the city and was dropped in our laps with absolutely zero participation. And we're just told that we're going to commence, we're going to do this. So speaking for myself, I said, looks like you've found a solution to a problem that we don't understand. We went through public safety commentary with Battalion Chief Hathaway, stating that he had grave concerns about the constriction from 10 feet to 4 feet of the center emergency lane, having to land a helicopter at one point in time, zero in the last 2 years, 0 pedestrian or bicycle accidents on the connector, something like 35 car accidents, no surprise. And at the end of the day, I think what that meeting produced for the most part was, thank you for listening to us, but we are likely to proceed with this plan regardless. And I would ask, a little bit differently if Councilmember Ward or Councilmember Pounds want to contribute anything else to that conversation, but it was pretty one-sided in terms of the ability for us to influence the work on that connector. Jimmy or Philip, anything to add?
No, I think you pretty much summed it up, Randy, that they said, thank you, but no, thank you. We're going to, we don't care what you say. They aren't listening to the residents of Isle of Palms.
No.
And we need some help.
I think one-sided was a nice way to say it, Randy. Yeah.
No, I was trying to be nice for a change, but it was not productive. And, it was clear, we asked, well, how long have you been working on this? And the answer was over 2 months. And you've got to ask yourselves as a community, so something this significant for this community, and you don't think it's appropriate to have city input on something that affects all of our public safety.
Excuse me, Randy.
Yeah, please.
I think something is, there's a lot to talk about here, and we're not going to get into it at this point, but there's a lot of problems with that. The railings on the bridge now, right next to where the runners would be, they're 8 inches out of compliance. I mean, it's a major deal, and that's just one of a lot of major problems with their plan.
Yeah, I'll close this conversation by, I did ask them if they were aware that Harris Teeter is not a destination, that the real safety concern that SCDOT should be looking at is what happens once you've reached the island on your bicycle and you're now in traffic, traversing Palm Boulevard or Waterway or any of the other routes. And, if they had a real concern for island safety and visitor and resident safety, they'd be looking at where the problems exist. And that includes the berms that they are responsible for maintaining that force the bicycles into the roads. So I think there's a lot of work to be done with SCDOT if they're willing to work with us.
I'm sorry, Randy, but I just have to make this point. And answering my question about the 8 inches on the rails, they're saying we are just not going to stripe that lane as for pedestrians. That was their answer. They were going to put down striping for the bicycle lanes, but nothing for the pedestrians to let them know. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, Susan?
Yeah, I think it's significant to follow up on Councilmember Ward's point that the exact language, I believe, was that's not a pedestrian walkway. That will be a place where pedestrians can be. So there shouldn't be any illusion, and it shouldn't be advertised to any of the public that that is going to be a safe place for pedestrians to walk. And that really needs to be highlighted for the safety of our public.
Yeah, and people need to recognize it's 2 miles to cross that. It's highly unlikely that this is the route people are going to walk in the summertime. Moving on to old business. 5A, update on the pedestrian crosswalks and safety. We didn't have any updates at the time of the meeting on that particular project. We did get from Chief Cornett an update on the front beach loading zones and parking, and Chief Cornett stated that the contractor was on the island. I'm assuming that the paint is done, Chief, at this point. That's a nod, yes.
It is, Randy.
Yeah, we had also consideration of city-sponsored event status for Lovello 2021 bike ride. As I stated, we had Christopher Reed and Abby Whitney reviewing the plans. For those that are unaware of this, we've been a pass-through location on this particular fundraising event for cancer. But this particular one for November 6, 2021 has us as the host city. We had discussion that this was beneficial to the businesses. It does attract people. It does bring people to the area. We asked of both the fire department and the police department, were they in support of this? Both agreed, not a problem, that law enforcement will be present and that it won't constitute, particularly in November, any problems for the city. And I would like to, at this time, make a motion that council move forward approving this city-sponsored event. Jimmy, please, I know you're going to tell everybody that you actually ride bikes.
I'm just going to second it.
Okay. But he does ride bikes in this event, so, yeah. Nicole, we need to vote on approval?
Sure. Councilmember Streetman,
Aye.
Councilmember Pounds,
Aye.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Councilmember Moy,
Aye.
Councilmember Popson, aye.
Unmute. Sorry. Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Buchanan,
Aye.
Councilmember Bell,
Aye.
Mayor Carroll,
Aye.
all in favor?
Okay, moving on.
Hey, Randy, excuse me.
yeah,
one second. We had two gentlemen with us from the Lovello. I think we should acknowledge their presence.
Oh, absolutely. On these little screens, seeing people down in the corner of your iPad sometimes a little awkward.
Thank you and good evening. This is Chris Aaronholt, the owner and president of Medalist Sports, and we were part of Lovello in 2019 and a big fan of Isle of Palm. So thank you for welcoming us back. And we have very exciting plans with the Hollings Cancer Center and a team. And for those of you that don't know Medalists, we're fortunately involved in special events across the country. Safety is our top priority, as well as the positive results that we know we'll have with Lovello. And to say we're most important or most excited about this concept, just the backdrop of IOP, and even hearing all of you talk tonight. I mean, we're greatly committed to making a positive impact to the community and the restaurants, and have a lot of great ideas on how to do that. And I want to pass it over to Chris Reed, who I know you may know more often, but first and finally, just we see this as a partnership. And so every step and every pedal stroke that we make, we want to do it with you and make it meaningful for the community, and most importantly for the cancer community. So thank you for the support.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris, and just want to echo Chris's comments. And we're very much looking forward to working with IOP and everybody involved in making that important impact. So please don't hesitate to contact us with any needs or questions. Very excited about the opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you both for coming.
Thank you.
Item C is discussion of existing dog leash rules. The good news is we didn't really have a discussion of existing dog leash rules, so we'll leave that one for another day. We moved on to discussion of regulations regarding rollout carts left at street side. And it was determined that we needed more outreach to the rental community. I will say this, driving Palm Boulevard today, the sheer number and volume of cans out there way beyond a day. It's mind blowing. So, I think, the idea, and it was Councilmember Pounds that put this on the agenda. those cans need to be brought in. I mean, it's bad enough to try to diverse Palm Boulevard, but when the cans are left for extended periods of time because people can't take the time, and I'm presuming most of them are rentals, but I wouldn't even leap to that conclusion. But we simply need to go after this as a city and get the cans pulled in off the roads in a timely manner. Councilmember Pounds, any comments to that? It's a
Nope.
hot.
Yeah, totally agree. Just reacting to, some resident feedback that we need to reiterate with rental community and maybe residents will know the timing of what's in our ordinance.
Yeah.
Mr.
Item
Mayor,
E,
if I'm just saying there's a lot of assumptions that it's assuming that it's rental property. We don't know. And I think Donnie has in Public Works knows who's rental property, who's not, but today's Tuesday. So rental, garbage they have to be back until, from all the way up to 25th Avenue. So they probably would have been pulled back, and all the new ones would have been from 25th all the way up to Wild Dunes. So the first 2 days of the week, you're going to see garbage cans, and tomorrow's recycling. So we're going to see recycling cans out there tonight, and we see recycling cans out there all day tomorrow. So it's just one of those things. And the city had made itself exempt from this ordinance. So you will see the city's cans out there all the time. So it's just.
So that may suggest we need to look at the ordinance, because leaving the cans out for an extended period of time is not only unsightly, it's not safe. So,
yeah. So that's
Councilman Street.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I see it all the time living on Palm. So matter of fact, I get my cans out late in the evening and get them back in early in the morning. And most weeks I'm also kind of the neighborhood guy that pulls the neighbors back. So for no, and I don't even charge for that. Okay. So, but we do have an issue with it. It seems like, and I can kind of understand that they get pulled out earlier, during the day before the pickup, but it seems like that we are not real timely in some areas getting them back in after they've been emptied. Just my perspective.
And moving on, we did have a discussion of the 10-year capital plan for fire and police departments. I won't go into that. That's covered in the Ways and Means. We did have reports from both the fire department and the police department. We had 40 calls in January from the fire department. Nothing stand out other than a sailing vessel that ran aground and a moped accident. And in the police department, 845 calls for service in January. I do think significant, we had 13 drug-related incidents and 4 DUIs. And I did take the time, and I think we all should thank the police department for doing work sometimes that we don't realize is dangerous, as I watched the chief suit up from City Hall to go do a drug bust during the month. Miscellaneous business, next Public Safety Committee meeting is Thursday, March 4th at 3 p.m. And that's all.
Very good. Moving on. Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Public Works Committee met at 4:30 Wednesday, February 3rd. It's a virtual meeting. Of course, all committee members were present. Staff members that needed to be there were there. And also present was 8 representatives from Dominion Energy. We approved the minutes, no citizens' comments. Director Pitts gave a brief report. Occurring near the end of the meeting, he referred committee members to the dashboard and assistant director's report and meeting packet. Old business, there was an update on phase 3 drainage projects, including internal projects and waterway boulevard path elevation, presented by Thomas and Hutton. Director Kerr said Gulfstream will begin work at the intersection 41st Avenue on February 15th. And he gave a little more of an extended report there. Then we went to a memorandum of understanding between the city and Dominion Energy ahead of the next tree trimming cycle. Administrator Hannah said the memorandum of understanding with Dominion Energy is actively being worked out, but not taking final shape. I look forward to an update on that report at our next meeting. Don't have anything at this time. Next item was discussion of Dominion Energy's non-standard service fund and list of eligible projects. We talked about undergrounding some overhead lines at the marina and along 41st, 21st, 14th Avenues and Oak Harbor Boulevards between 11th and 13th. Then we had a lengthy presentation about Dominion Energy representatives regarding the utility undergrounding, maintenance, trimming, and public communications. It's noted that we have approximately $637,665 in the city's non-standard service fund that we can use for projects that the city and Dominion Energy would agree upon. There's 1/6 of these funds that drop off every year, so it's kind of a use it or lose it. We talked about it in Ways and Means some, and we are going to determine some projects at our next meeting. Projects will be 1 through 4 and present them to council and see what they think about it. Discussion of Public Works 10-year capital plan. There's no sense to go into that right now because Mr. Pounds is putting that into our first of our budget sessions. And as soon as we have some numbers regarding fleet replacement, facilities maintenance, and drainage, we'll get back to you. The next meeting will be Wednesday, March 3rd at 4:30. That ends my report.
That's a great report. You got the record so far. Thank you. Recreation.
Oh, recreation. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We met at 8 a.m. on February 2nd. All members and staff were present. Our Recreation Director Paige gave us a report, and I'll hit the highlights. Registration for spring adult sports has begun, as well as youth basketball ended well without any problems, even in the midst of our COVID precautions. Fitness classes are popular right now. Some are doing in person, some by Zoom, and staff is working on developing some special interest classes and that might potentially be offered through live streaming. They are already offering, again, that live streaming option for a variety of classes. Teenagers was able to meet last month. Front Beach Fest will be replaced by a drive-in movie that is coming up soon in the municipal parking lot on March 7th. So everybody mark your calendars. The winning movie was going to be Sonic the Hedgehog. I believe the rec department asked for people to vote on their favorites. The yard sale will take place on April 17th with a reduced number of vendors. There will be no Easter egg hunt this year. So this is a big change for us, and it is obviously due to COVID, but the recreation and public safety departments have pivoted once again and will be offering front yard visits by the Easter Bunny, which will be something for our families to remember. So I hope all our families will have that on their radar and be looking for that opportunity to sign up for that. In addition, staff is working on plans for music in the park later in the spring that will involve a movie on the recreation field to allow for social distancing as well as music acts. Otherwise, we got back to old business with surfing, our ordinance on allowing surfing instruction at the beach. And I'll just mention that in our previous discussion at council, we talked about the fact that Folly Beach had been offering camps in the past and still do. I did not realize that Folly Beach had in the past year or so, started allowing for surfing instruction. In addition to camps, allowing for surfing lessons. They have franchise arrangements to do camps with instructors. They allow surfing instruction. It is not through a franchise arrangement, but they do require that in addition to those offering camp instruction, that the surfing instructors meet certain well, I'm not sure if you would call them regulations, but requirements, which include insurance and having somebody present who has lifeguard training. So that some of these points came up at our last council meeting and were the reasons that it was kicked back to committee for those to be explored for our second reading of our ordinance, which will come up later in our meeting. But we did take those to heart, and you will see those additions have been made after consulting with our attorney in our committee meeting. And I'll be happy to answer any questions now or later during our discussion leading up to the vote on the second reading of that ordinance. And otherwise, let's see, we also touched on a brief discussion of looking into partnership opportunities for kayaking and paddle boarding, and exploring the possibility again with the Exchange Club that we might be able to use their dock as another option for our community in partnership with them for people to do paddle sports. Not to say that they couldn't also be doing them at the marina, but just that this would be another option that we should be looking into, because I believe the Exchange Club has actually reached out to us in the past about that possibility. We looked at the fiscal year 10-year capital plan for the Recreation Department. Nothing really big that we're eyeing right now. So we can talk about some of those expected facilities improvements at our budget meeting. And our next meeting of the Recreation Committee will be on Monday, March 1st at 8 a.m. Here ends my report.
Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
I do have a clarification. The drive-in movie is, and that's okay, is March the 6th, not the 7th. It's on Saturday. It would be the same day that we would typically have our Front Beach Fest. And obviously we can't bring those crowds in, but we look forward to working with the police department to make this happen. 2 weeks.
Thank you for making that clarification.
Absolutely.
Very good. Anybody else? Hearing none, moving on. Real property.
Personnel.
I think it's personnel next.
Personnel first.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I put a check by it as I was going through there. Personnel.
That's all right. So let's see, I'm going to start off with an update on the hiring process for the chief of police. And we've, in various public meetings, have shared the entirety of the process. It is available online at iop.net/snooze/firing chief process. You can get to it from the homepage. But we have, as everyone here knows, and for the sake of the benefit, of the public, the full council unanimously voted to extend an offer to an external candidate. And due to unforeseen family circumstances, the candidate was forced to decline that offer. We've since, as of Friday, had a special committee meeting, a special council meeting, pardon me, and voted to extend an offer to Battalion Chief Hathaway. We've yet to, I don't know if we've actually extended a formal offer since that vote was taking place. I know that we've yet to receive an acceptance. So there's no news to report regarding the firing chief process, but that's the state of the state in terms of where things are. Jumping into the personnel committee meeting we had earlier this month, we did get an update on the wage and compensation analysis project. It's still ongoing. As of the time of our meeting, the Evergreen Solutions, the company selected, was coming on site that week, and I know has been working closely with staff and Desiree to complete that study. And we'll report on the findings of that study. Desiree, I don't know if we anticipate having findings for the March council meeting, or if we have that timeline.
No update on that timeline, whether or not we would have any information of that result by March.
Okay. Thank you. We had some new business. We did discuss the consideration of re-implementing the merit increase. As you may recall, at the beginning of of fiscal year 21, when the COVID impact really was recognized, we took some drastic budget measures, not knowing what was going to come. And one of those things was to put a pause on merit increases that had previously already been approved. And because our budget numbers for FY21 came in better than expected, we wanted to go ahead and recommend the Personnel Committee unanimously voted to move that to Ways and Means. Ways and Means was not unable to pick that up in the last meeting, so I know that we'll be discussing that in March. And that really is the gist of personnel. Unless there are any questions, so ends my report.
Any questions for personnel? Hearing none, great report. Thank you very much. Y'all got a tight 3 in a race there. Okay, last but not least, real property.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Real Property Committee met at 1:30 p.m. on Monday, February the 1st. We had all council members present at the time. We had no comments from the citizens, even though we did encourage all of our citizens that wish to participate with comments and or in our Zoom meetings as well, if they would like to do so. The next thing we had was the marina tenant comments, and basically this was a presentation from the family group, Mr. John Bushnell and Mr. Dave Lorenz, to give us kind of an update at that point. And now we have them here with us tonight. We appreciate your patience, and they're going to give the council a presentation of the restaurant design presentation they put together. We just got that today. So John and Dave, welcome. And I'm going to turn it over to you guys at this point. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you for having us. And Ron has the presentation. I know he can share it through his screen.
You should be seeing it now.
Perfect. So there's 3 parts of this presentation. One, we just want to update you on the status of the building and what we have found over the last several weeks. 2, Dave will lead you through the design and layout of the building. And then 3, we will talk about the new parking, more efficient parking plan. So with that, Ron, if you could go to the next slide. The Hill report is now nearly 2 years old, and we were aware of some significant issues and life safety issues. There's particularly rot in the back of the southwest corner underneath some of the pilings. There were electrical coolers and outlets underneath the flood zone, underneath the building, that have to be removed. And there were some tankless water heaters that were unsafe that had to be removed. So we included all those in our original plans. What we have found recently, when we demolished the drywall in order for the structural engineer and the architect to look at the support of the ceiling, is that the wood rot, water damage, termite issues, and some of the failing support beams were more extensive than we had assumed, even in the Hill report. And so we did have to adjust our plans because large portions of the kitchen roof, the ceilings, the walls, and the floors were all compromised and not able to be salvaged. So attached are a couple pictures to show you the condition of the kitchen and the kitchen walls. You'll see that there's extensive water damage, and therefore we have to cut off a little bit more of the building than we had originally planned, and we will have to rebuild porches as well as some of the support beams underneath. The next picture will just show you some of the extent of where the water literally has been coming through the roof into the walls and the floor. And so much damage has been done in some areas where there literally is no wood left. It's just been rotted away and it's not supporting that part of the roof structure. So all of the southwest corner will have to be removed and demolished from the building. The next picture is just an example of the kitchen hood, which we knew was in bad condition, and we will be replacing that as well. The next picture is just a close-up of the ductwork, which we were not aware that was as bad as it is. So all the HVAC and ductwork will have to be replaced as part of this process. The picture on the left shows you where that water, an example of the water damage and how bad the wood support and the joists are, that they literally rotted away. And there was nothing holding up those metal support pieces. The next picture is an example of the front left dining room. And what you will see here is actually the lack of electrical components. We did think we could save the electrical system that was in the structure. We found out that was not the case. We have to replace all of the electrical components throughout the building, as well as the breaker boxes, and actually move the electrical panels from the current room into the office to a separate room to get away from the water, the riser for the flood and sprinkler system. So that it was an unexpected change. In addition, some of the subflooring throughout the building was rotted, was molded, and this is an example of where the previous bathrooms were, that there's actually holes in the subfloor when we pulled up the tile. So again, we knew that the structure had some issues. It just was a little bit more extensive than we had imagined, but it's all going to be addressed and fixed in our renovation. And then I'm going to hand it over to Dave, but some of the changes that aren't visible to the community or won't be visible to customers after the fact is, like I said, the new electrical system is going to be done throughout the building. We're going to need new HVAC and ductwork. We're going to need all new closed cell insulation underneath the building. We have to update the kitchen hoods, and then we are going to be demolishing and replacing, approximately 20 to 25% of the entire building with new framing. But with that, I'll let Dave talk about some of the great additions and renovations that you will be able to see.
Thanks, John. And thank you, council, for having us. I think what just John's speaking to is, the cornerstone of restaurant business is safety and sanitation, and the electrical is a safety issue. Getting the floors fixed, fixing the kitchen, doing all that, the HVAC, getting all the ductwork out and replacing that so there's not mold in there, is sanitation. And so that's really, the core of where we're starting. And we just wanted to let y'all know, and I think that was the point of the presentation at the beginning. People could drive by there and say, well, how they hadn't done anything. Well, if you look inside, it looks like a bomb went off, and we're really taking it down to the studs to just rebuild it to a better, nicer, cleaner building and restaurant that everybody's gonna be able to enjoy. So if you go through this first floor, that red box is the area that we first showed you, and it was mentioned in the Hill report, which is the back corner facing the Intercoastal Waterway. And this is where we kind of had to pivot and redesign this area after we got extensively involved in taking the walls down. And this area is going to become a deck that is a covered deck that you see that's in green with a bar out back. So you'll have great views of the Intercoastal Waterway. You'll have a ramp that will come from the parking lot, stairs that will come up to that back deck. And I think that's going to be a really great spot to see the sunset and watch the boats go by. So that's a new area that we're going to put together. And then on top of that is that upper deck, and I'll get to that on the second floor, but I'll show you when we get to that. So on the green area, we originally were going to work on taking that down and making that kind of a deck area, but because of the damage to that kitchen, we kind of flip-flopped. We're going to keep this as a dining area. If people are familiar with the marina, that was kind of the sloped dining room atrium area. We're going to actually rebuild the whole floor and drop the floor about 2 feet. So it creates a better dining experience for people inside the restaurant near the front area and the front kind of core dining area. They'll be able to see over patrons, customers' heads and be able to see the water, as well as the people in the atrium will have great views of the water. So I think it's going to kind of be a win-win. The yellow area is the new bathrooms that we're moving up front. They'll be ADA compliant. They're going to have 4, restrooms for each male and female. So going to be just much better, easier access, things like that. And then we're opening up the stairs right there in kind of the golden orange area. We're taking those out, and it's just going to have, again, a much grander entrance, better flow, better visibility of the intercoastal water when you walk in. And right to the left of that golden square and in the yellow box, you see an elevator. So we are putting an elevator, which we heard comments from citizens and friends and neighbors. Every time we mention that, they're really excited that we're going to be putting an elevator in the building. So that's kind of the first floor. Ron, if you can go to the second. So the second floor, you see this red area. There'll be stairs that will go up to that area. It's kind of that existing area that had a ton of water damage. So we're replacing that whole area with a new deck. So it's going to be like a double decker deck on this back area facing the intercoastal. So great views of the water where you can hang out with friends and family and enjoy a good meal. In the green area, that is the roof above. We're replacing that whole roof. It was leaking. And it's just, you can't salvage it. So we're going to be replacing that whole roof there. And then the new elevator will kind of come up into the kitchen area with an exit that will kind of come out facing the intercoastal as well. And we're redoing that yellow kitchen area, bringing that up to code and stuff like that. And then, redoing, we took the whole bar out upstairs, but we're rebuilding the bar. It was kind of rotted wood and stuff like that. So redoing that, the bar in the upstairs under the white tent, which we're also anchoring down to make it code compliant. So those are the kind of floor plans that we've got going. And if you want to go to the next slide, we'll get into kind of the elevation. So this is kind of the cool part of what we see the building looking like. The eastern side, which is like if you're looking from the boat ramp, the kind of sandbox area we call it, that's existing on top. We're going to create a more grand staircase, better access. We've got kind of a cool tower feature that's going to be on the front of the building to kind of change the look, as well as increasing the height of the outdoor bar and expanding it to have some kind of umbrellas and some seating to, again, be able to look over to see more and create great views from that area. So next slide. This is from the intercoastal. And you see the existing this used to be a office on that back area and I think a storage room. We're taking that out, and that's the double decker deck that I was talking about that is just going to have amazing views of the sunset and the intercoastal. So that's going to be happening from the intercoastal view. Next slide. Go ahead and hit the next slide. Oh, okay. And this is from Morgan Creek. You've got, just a different view. You get the tower there. And then you can kind of see on the left side of the building, the bar is a little bit larger. It's heightened. We're going to have some TVs under there so you'll be able to watch sports, and then a nice seating deck area on top of that as well to take views of Morgan Creek. And I'll pass it off to John to go over the parking design.
The final piece was trying to make a more efficient layout for the parking. There were some challenges, but by actually moving the parking, as you look at the screen, in front of the building to the right into the sand pit area by about 8 feet, it allowed us to have an entire extra row of parking in the center. So while we are going to be losing seating / standing areas, it's going to increase the parking spaces, make it much more efficient. In addition, we're going to have several places for bike racks for residents to bike to and park. And we're also going to include as many golf cart spaces as we can fit. We tentatively have in here approximately about 12 right now, but we hope to fit in some more as the plans are finalized. The budget for this project as it stands has increased both with the scope as well as the fact that we signed our lease 3 months and a week ago. And in those past 3 months, lumber prices have doubled. So we're in the price range now of 2.2 to 2.6 million for the construction costs. We still don't have those finalized as, we'd need to get design approval, then get zoning permits, and then get the subcontractors to give us our final pricing, because the commodity pricings for lumber as well as Metal continues to change daily. So that's in process as well. But altogether, this is the first stage for approval. Then we can submit architectural and structural plans to Douglas Carr in his office for zoning. And then we can start on the next phase of actually constructing the building. So appreciate your time and happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, John. Thank you, Dave. Just a comment or two, and I know we're going to have some input from the other council members here. Appreciate the presentation. I think we all were invited, and most, if not all of us, saw firsthand the issues that are down at the old Marina restaurant, and it was eye-opener, to say the least, in regards to what we saw. And we know that John and Dave are going to have to put much more capital into this than they originally planned. And of course, with lumber cost and everything else escalating the way it is, it's going to add even more cost to it. But they are planning on, getting to work on this as soon as we can approve it. And basically what I'd like to do at this point is I would like to make a motion that we do approve the design for the Isle of Palms Marina restaurant before we have further discussion.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? Randy?
Yeah, I just want to comment. I mean, some of the commentary that gets forwarded to us by completely ill-informed, ignorant statements on social media about us giving this restaurant away. This $2.2 to $2.6 million is not the city's investment dollars. These are private investors. Dave Lorenz and John, guys, kudos to you for bringing an asset to the community that otherwise, and I did go down to the building the other day, it is horrific. It was raining, the water was coming through the roof at a pace that looked like there was no roof there. He didn't show, I don't know what it was, a collection of 6 electric boxes. It's another $100-some thousand to replace. It's a mess. If the city were looking at this project the way that we look at projects with overruns and extra money built in, frankly, the city would be looking at tearing this building down. I don't think there's any way that the city could take this project on without private investment. And, kudos to you guys for actually doing something to bring an asset to the community.
Thank you, Councilmember Bell. Someone else raise their hand? Yeah. Councilmember Moy.
Yeah, I'm gonna recall when we were negotiating this lease, I asked several times, what happens if the IOP Families Group doesn't need to spend that much money? I say that a little bit tongue in cheek and joking now because I did take them up on the offer to go down and look at the extent of the damage, and the pictures are compelling. But being there in person is pretty impactful. And, the Hill report was exhaustive. It was extensive, and it showed a lot of work that needed to be done. But as anybody who's done renovations knows, until you start bringing drywall down, until you start really looking in places that the Hill report simply couldn't, you don't know the full extent of what you're taking on. So, the comments about what if they don't spend $2 million, no one really took me seriously. Now I understand why. In terms of approving the design, everyone's familiar with the work that you do with Mex One and other locations. And I'm excited for this to move forward.
Councilmember Smith.
Thank you. I'll chime in and say that I appreciated the chance to tour the building this weekend as well. The challenges are great, but I definitely appreciate the vision of the team and looking forward to having that asset for our community. I think it's going to be wonderful once it's complete, and I feel confident with the experience of the team as well that they're moving us in the right direction. So thank you all.
I think, thank you. I think Councilmember Ward had his hand up first, and then Councilmember Pounds after that.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Bottom line to the folks listening at home, what does this mean? as far as time wise for the citizens of Isle of Palms, and what does this mean as far as their pocketbook or the budget? Just plain talk. We know all of this stuff, but some people at home have not been privy to all the negotiations. So when they hear something like this, I'm sure that they're a little alarmed. And Mr. Chairman, if we could put them at ease, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, you're asking about timing, Councilmember Ward?
Timing and money, what it means to the citizens, if anything.
Well, I would turn this back over to John Bushnell to talk a little bit about the timing and the implication of the additional cost, if you would, John or Dave.
So for the timing, we are targeting to open the outdoor area 4 months from when we first start construction. So if we can get the permits, get the plans to the zoning department in the next 2 weeks and get those turned. 2 weeks after, we can get a shovel in the ground basically in mid to late March. So we're looking at July for the exterior area, and the interior area is more like 5 to 6 months, especially with the additional structure that we're building. So that's probably looking more like late August, early September. So we're still pushing ahead as fast as we can.
Very good. Thank you. That answers my question. I really appreciate it. And for the citizens that are not privy, they don't know everything that has to do with the lease, with these additional costs, does this mean anything to them?
No, we are taking on this as private citizens, private individuals, private investors. So this is a cost that's borne by us.
Yes, sir. We all know that, but I just appreciate you making that clear, because some people may not know that might stymie some unneeded questions as Randy was mentioning earlier. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Ward. And Councilmember Pounds, I think you were next.
Yeah, thank you, Rusty. John and Dave, thank you guys for touring us all and putting the presentation together tonight. It looks fantastic, and we need to move forward with you as fast as we can from a vote standpoint. So thank you guys for your efforts.
Thank you, Councilmember Pounds. I think Mayor Carroll had his hand up next, and then we have Councilmember Popson after that.
Let Councilmember Popson go first, please.
All right, will do. Councilmember Popson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to say everything, I was down there with John Saturday afternoon for the lovely tour, and let the residents know these guys got a tiger by the tail, but they're working through it. They're dedicated to getting this thing going, and really like the layout, really like the plan, as long as it doesn't conflict with anything that Douglas has to deal with. But thank you guys for the tour, and thank you for the effort.
Mayor Carroll?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Number one, Dave and John, I can't thank you all enough. As I alluded to earlier when we were talking about the marina and the cost going down there, that was due to a lease. We did a professional triple net lease on this building. Y'all are strong enough and big enough and professional enough to, you're discovering things that you didn't know about, and it's costing you a lot of money. But I applaud y'all for the job you're doing, and we need to get this thing through, because this is the right thing to do. Let's get it open. I'm excited for you both.
Thank you, Mayor Carroll. Anyone else wanted to speak? Okay, I'll just say that I too, Mayor and council members, I'm impressed by the family group here and everything they're doing to deliver a great restaurant down there. And I know there's a lot of unexpected issues that they found, but they're stepping up, and that we're all anxiously awaiting to see a really nice restaurant down there. And I think it's going to be very successful. So if no one else has anything to offer, I would say that we ought to call for a vote. Would that be in order?
Absolutely. Councilmember Ward?
Aye.
Councilmember Popson?
Aye.
Councilmember Bell?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Pounds?
Aye.
Councilmember Moy?
Aye.
Councilmember Buchanan,
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman,
Aye.
Mayor Carroll,
Aye.
all in favor?
All right, thank you very much. And to John and Dave, thank you guys for being here. I think you're probably dismissed at this point. So thanks for being patient with us tonight. Yeah, it's a pretty long meeting, so your patience was really good. Thanks for hanging in there.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on with the real property update. Under old business, we had an update on the Marina Rehabilitation Project. We've actually already dealt with that tonight for the most part, through Ways and Means and our vote there. So I'll just skip over that part of it there. And move on to the update on the proposed ADA compliant dual purpose beach boardwalk at 42nd Avenue. We looked at that and the revised scope of the project and how it was approved by the Greenbelt Fund. Director Douglas Carr is going to also check with OCRM to see if we can extend that ramp, if you will, out closer to the beach, on the beach path there. On the walkover, and I'm not sure if he's got an update on that yet or not, but he promised that he would check into that and get back to us as soon as possible. So maybe we'll have some information on that soon. We also discussed the unused Greenbelt funds for improving beach access paths, and we're going to take that on the real property. I think we talked about that a lot last week at Ways and Means, and maybe looking at what we could do with the other beach access paths. So we will take that up in our next meeting next week. We had an update on the front beach patio area improvements that was coming along, and Administrator Fregoso promised us some, got the before pictures, but we'll have the after pictures pretty soon. And they were also getting pricing and all that for the picnic tables. We had discussion of conceptual designs for the public dock and green space, and covered that. Some good things that we looked at there in terms of the drawings. And of course, we don't have any construction on the green space or the dock at all at this point because we have some litigation underway down there. But we are going to continue through the staff and through any advisors they may bring in to work on the project while awaiting the outcome of the case. So, and we knocked around a few ideas about what we might do in the future when that becomes available in regards to selling memorial bricks, bench dedications, that sort of thing. Councilmember Smith, did you have a question?
Oh, when you're done, I had a comment.
All right, I'll recognize you just a second here then. Okay, under new business, discussion and consideration of noise agreement with Marina Restaurant. And that was included in the meeting packet. It was sent to Mr. Bushnell, Mr. Lorenz. Shouldn't be any changes on it that we expect. And we hope to have a final agreement on that at some point. Desiree, was there anything you wanted to add on that at this point, or should we wait for an update at real property?
Yeah, we'll have more information at real property.
Okay. And of course, we also discussed the capital plan, and we'll just, as every other committee did, and we'll have more of that when we get to our budget workshops. The next meeting of the Real Property Committee will be Monday, March the 1st, 2021 at 1:30 p.m. And that's my update, Mr. Mayor.
That's a great report. Questions for Real Property? Councilmember Hill Smith.
Thank you. And thank you, Councilmember Streetman, for that report and for the discussion around the beach access paths. Not breaking news that it's been raining a lot lately in our community, so I thought it would be a good time to survey the beach access paths and the problems that we've been having with water. So this weekend, when it finally got a little bit sunny, I surveyed from 23rd Avenue to 43rd Avenue. I think that's about a dozen or so beach paths. Interesting that there was a wide disparity in how they were with water, but there were 8 paths with standing water and 5 with, I would say, major issues to the point that those beach access paths would be extremely difficult to use without wading through water. So I'm glad that we're going to be discussing this more during our budget. I think it's worth noting that we have $4 million in our beach preservation fund that has really two purposes. And one is for beach access paths, and the other is for beach renourishment projects. And we can expect that to grow by up to $1 million each year, thanks to the special accommodations tax that has been created to channel money into that fund. So again, I think it's important to note that a significant number of our beach paths were almost unusable by Saturday, if not most of the week, probably before that, as we had a lot of rain, and looking forward to having further discussions about that.
Thank you, Councilmember Smith. And Mr. Mayor, I turn it back to you.
Thank you very much. That was a great report. Okay, moving on. Reports from city officers, boards, and commissions. Accommodations Tax Advisory Committee, minutes are attached. Board of Zoning Appeals, minutes are attached. And the public can see all this online. Planning Commission, minutes are attached. Reports from special or joint committees, none. Petitions received, referred, or disposed of, none. Moving on, bills already in possession of council. Consideration of ordinance 2020-16, an ordinance to allow for commercial surfing instruction on the beach. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, discussion. Everybody has their lines here, and there's been some changes to protect everybody. We've heard this thing for years now, and I'm glad that it's looking pretty darn good. That didn't say the other word. So Susan and John, you want to go into some of the details, because y'all have been very instrumental in this.
Yeah, I'm happy to offer a few more details. As I mentioned earlier in our report, we appreciated the concerns that were brought up at the last council meeting, and we're able to add in requirements around an insurance policy that we're expecting all surf instructors to have, that would include the city on that policy. The requirements around a certain level of safety certification, of lifeguard certification for at least one instructor with a group of surfing students. We have limited the amount of instruction time that any one instructor can have during the day to 2 hours. We have also limited specifically the amount of instruction a student can have to 2 hours. So there's no potential loophole with one instructor handing off kids to another instructor to create something that we really aren't ready for, which would be more of a camp situation. So this is an introductory year. We will, this ordinance allows for this to be evaluated at the end of the year. And it also gives City Council the right to, limit the number of instructors. So appreciated some input that I got from Folly Beach around this. They both have camp franchises and are allowing surf instructions. We're just going to be allowing surf instruction at this point.
Mr. Moy. Councilmember Moy.
Either way. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councilmember Smith. And I'll just, a quick reaction from me. You probably noted I was frustrated last month when we didn't pass this as it was written, but I can eat crow because I think we've made it a lot better. So I want to give credit to the Recreation Committee and staff and everyone who contributed. So thank you. Let's do it.
Anyone else? One quick thing. I think Susan, also, I think maybe you said, maybe I didn't hear it, CPR and also first aid instruction. Yeah. Certified. So, I love what y'all have created. Thank you very much. I think we are ready for a vote. Nicole?
Mayor?
Yes.
Before, if I may.
Yes, of course you may. Always.
Thank you, Mayor. So just as a reminder, I think it wasn't mentioned earlier, but ultimately council is the body that approves the issuance of these licenses for the first year. Just wanted to make that clear. So the staff would receive the applications and all the documentation that's required in the ordinance, and then we would be presenting that to the full body for approval.
Yeah, and just to make it clear, they will be required to have a business license. In addition, they have to separately apply to do surfing instruction and meet these other requirements.
And
Mayor,
special meetings.
Well, and yeah, I'm
only kidding, Susan.
I'm hoping that our administration is going to assist in this, and that we will have an orderly process that won't require us to meet every time somebody applies to be a instructor.
Yes,
yeah,
that
and
is.
I would. Oh,
sorry. My current thought process for that is that we'll have an online application where people can upload proof of their meeting of the requirements and agree to all the terms that are laid out in the ordinance. And then we will just bring those to you at a regular meeting to be approved, or, permission issued on a case-by-case basis.
Very good. Yes,
one
ma'am.
suggestion, Mayor, because this version of the ordinance is different than the one that was approved for first reading 2 months ago, what I would suggest is that the original motion for approval is approved as amended.
Who made the motion?
Councilmember Moy.
Friendly amendment to include the amendment language.
Thank you.
And
Thank
who
you.
made the second?
Councilmember Pounds.
Okay. Okay. Nicole?
Very good. Councilmember Ward.
Aye.
Councilmember Popson.
Aye.
Councilmember Buchanan. Aye. Councilmember Moy.
Oh, yeah.
Councilmember duly noted. Councilmember Bell.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman.
Aye.
Councilmember Pounds.
Aye.
Mayor Carroll.
Hang 10, aye.
All in favor?
Thank you very much. Moving on, introduction of new bills, resolutions, proclamations. First up is a consideration of emergency ordinance 2021-02, an ordinance to amend and extend the city's COVID-19 response protocols upon the expiration on March the 6th. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Discussion. Councilmember Ward and then Buchanan.
Where's the state and the governor stand on the future of this? Do you know?
I have, Jimmy, it's an ongoing, I wish I could tell you. I can't speak for him.
Okay.
Desiree, do you have any updates as for that?
The governor has continued to extend the emergency, state of emergency for the state of South Carolina. The governor and the state never implemented a face mask ordinance mandate, which is something that it is included in the city's local emergency ordinance. So that would be extended. There are still restrictions in place for live entertainment and the sale of beer and alcohol after a certain date. So the city's emergency ordinance just refers back to the governor's emergency executive orders related to COVID to ensure that there is compliance and consistency between both. What you all would be considering is extending the same regulations that have been in place for several months now. They do not include any parking restrictions. It extends the face mask requirement. It continues to allow city council to meet virtually. I know that there have been some conversations informally and at meetings about the desire to return to in-person meetings. Certainly could happen. But if in the event of an emergency that the city has to meet virtually, would still allow it to happen for the next 60 days. This ordinance also allows food establishments to continue to offer out outside dining options for folks to ensure and extend their ability to provide for safe social distancing. Let me see.
That's fine. How long is the ordinance extension for?
60 days.
It would be for 60 days, and I think that the mayor's motion for approval included making this ordinance effective the day that the existing current ordinance, when that expires, which would be March the 6th.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilmember Buchanan.
Thank you. And I voiced my concerns on this before, and I still get frustrated about it. The fact that we see so many other communities, municipalities meeting in person, and whether it's just committee meetings, there's only 3 of us at a committee meeting, maybe 4 with, the administrator, but I don't understand why we can't get back to committee meetings when we are congregating throughout the community. And if that's the case, if there's no plan in place, if there's nothing, if we come out of this meeting saying we're just going to keep doing this in perpetuity without a plan, then I'm not going to support it. The community wants to get back to vocalizing their concerns. The community wants to get back to having their say. And we had 3 people comment tonight via the Zoom, but it's just it's time to get back to a situation where we can meet with the residents of our the island, and I don't see where we've had anything in place. And if we come out of this meeting and say, what, in 30 days we'll have something in place where we can meet in either subcommittees, and then 60 days we can meet in council, but we need to have there's no plan, and that's what's frustrating. It's frustrating for us. It's frustrating for the community.
Kevin, before you reply, Ryan, I think we all agree, but in our council chambers alone, with all of our council members and city clerk and attorney and our able-bodied city administrator and assistant city administrator, I think the number that we can have in there is a maximum 6. Ron, how many people are watching our council meeting right now?
So the last time I checked, and I'll hop back over there right now, we have 125 concurrent viewers now, but our high water mark was 157.
So Ryan, going back to your committee meetings, that's always in a smaller room downstairs. It always could be in the larger council chambers where we could have the same, larger number of people attending. But again, we're still COVID conscious right now. And
Mayor, I truly understand that, but you're being myopic about it. The fact is that we can go through, we can have our iPads in front of us. We can still meet via Zoom on a committee meeting, socially distanced, if that's what you want to do. We can meet with our iPads in front of us as a council member, as a group of council, socially distanced, and with our iPads in front of us, and still meet in this same way. Obviously, some folks are frustrated about it, but I just don't understand why the transparency, the fact that we had to call a Friday night meeting at 5 o'clock within 24 hours notice. It's out of laziness. It's out of, we're going through and calling meetings just because we can call meetings because we can do it via Zoom, and I don't understand it. I mean, the fact that we're not getting together, we're not meeting the way that we're supposed to, doesn't make sense to me. And, the fact that we can, without a doubt, we can meet out of committee meetings. And I don't understand why we're not doing that. And there's definitely not a doubt that we can't meet within committee meetings. Sure, if we can meet in committee meetings. If some people are COVID scared, then fine, they can stay home. But they can still meet via Zoom. But there's no reason that the people cannot approach council and voice their concerns.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Popson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to repeat what Councilman Buchanan. I think we should get back in public as soon as we possibly can. We have the plexiglass up side by side on our council in our chambers, so we could sit side by side with the plexiglass. We can limit the amount of people coming in. Maybe we'll limit it to those who can speak. And then totally agree with, I don't understand why we can't have committee meetings with the three of us and the staff. But anyway, I'm just with Councilman Buchanan. I'd like to get back in public. You know, Philip, Rusty and I think we only had 2 council meetings in person since we got on, and it's nobody's fault, it's COVID, but I think it's time to start thinking about getting back. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Councilmember Pounds, and then Councilmember Hill-Smith, and then Councilmember Bennett.
Sorry. Thank you, Mayor. Desiree, I'm glad you ran through kind of what this ordinance is and isn't, because there has been some email and chatter about, it looks like we're going back to previous parking restrictions, and that's not the case at all. And I appreciate you kind of running through that. I think it's a well-written ordinance, and I think we need to vote on it and move on. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir. Councilmember Hill-Smith.
Thank you. I'll just say that I think I can support moving back to regular committee meetings in person with there's only 3 council members on a committee and lower numbers of staff, and usually lower numbers of participants from citizens. And then laying the groundwork with the expectation that numbers are going to continue to drop with COVID, so that our council can meet with the full council in person later in the spring.
Thank you. Councilmember Bell, and then Ward.
Yeah, so I'm going to take the contrary to this, and I'll have my second vaccine on Sunday. But almost every public facility you go into that has meetings, be it doctor's offices or whatever, takes your temperature, does a check, and makes sure that you're healthy. Until such time that we have some degree of certainty, there are those of us that don't go to Front Beach and don't go to the bars and don't do the things that some of you do. I don't do it because of discomfort. I don't go indoors and eat in restaurants right now. And, you don't have to agree with that. But I don't think that we're in a position when we're expected to, within some boundaries at least, do as home rule has dictated that we do and manage COVID. I don't know if you guys pay attention. The COVID counts aren't coming down. We're still at pretty significant rates in the state. I know there's other members on this council that wouldn't be comfortable. And frankly, if you want to have meetings in person, you can, as long as we have an option for those that choose not to stay home and participate. Right? Our IT infrastructure beyond a Zoom call is horrible. Right? So, if city administration can tell us, how do you have a mix where we can still have 100 people participate in a meeting? We struggle with anything but the simplest of video instructions as a council, right? And if we want to accelerate the investments, I will promise you, I'll fully support accelerated investments so we can do a better job. But I don't think, and Ron Hanna, you can tell us, are we in a position to have, a combined, some people are, participating on Zoom, some people are participating in council, and I'm talking about the residents as well, not just us that are sitting on council.
I could probably make it work. It would not be as elegant a solution as we have now.
There we go.
Yeah, we struggle with elegance.
Councilmember.
I want to, Mayor, if I may expand on Ron. We did improve and update the live stream equipment that we currently have. Obviously, it's not what we're budgeting in FY22 that has already been approved by the committee, but we can certainly support live streaming much better than we had in the past. We can certainly include a component to allow folks to participate from home while still live streaming. It's not rocket science. We're prepared to do that. We have been testing the equipment for quite some time, knowing that folks were getting, we were getting questions about our readiness to return to in-person meetings. So we will implement and do as you all please. We're ready to do that. Obviously, I think that the public should expect a requirement to use face coverings, which we have currently inside City Hall. We've had, since the beginning of the pandemic. And there might be some limitations on the number of people that can attend a room, but I think that the public is already used to these kind of adjustments as a result of COVID. So I don't want you all to wait or think that you have to wait on the staff to be ready to execute that. We would be ready to do that. And we can try to do it elegantly, certainly.
Okay, next up is Ward, then Streetman, and then Hill Smith.
I want to keep it brief. I just want to make sure, like, if you don't have to come to City Hall to attend the meetings, if you're in a committee or even as large a committee as Ways and Means or City Council, correct? Like you can still, you can still attend the meetings via Zoom. Is that correct?
Yes, they could still attend meetings virtually, either by phone or via Zoom.
Yeah, because I can tell you the last month, I couldn't even get out of my car. You know, I've been really sick with this stuff. And the last couple of weeks, I mean, I would do really good to be, after 15 minutes, I was just exhausted, just sitting at home. And if you think that, you know, that I'm going to come to City Hall, I'm just glad, I'm glad this is going to be the way it is, because I would just miss meetings because I'm still not ready to get out in public.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't be forced to.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Streetman.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I'm just going to briefly echo some of the things I've heard. Number one, I don't have any problem with getting back into a in-person meeting myself. That's something I'd be willing to do, and taking the proper precautions. I think it is good that we are going to have the option out there to consider doing this. If someone could tune in on Zoom, one of the other council members or whoever that may be. And I think we also need to continue the option of having and encouraging our citizens to tune in on Zoom and offer their comments. And I've had reservations in the past about, the past live streaming we did. The audio, the video was poor. I'm glad to hear that we've got it improved now at this point, because frankly, it was just unwatchable and you couldn't make out what was being said in the past. So I think Zoom has been good for us in that it's given us a communication vehicle that we can clearly communicate with residents, being able to hear us and that sort of thing. So I'll go on record to say that if we decide to do in-person committee meetings, budget meetings, whatever we're going to do, I'm all in. Thanks.
Okay, Councilmember Smith, I'm going to hold off for a second because everybody needs to speak first. So Councilmember Moy, then back to Hill Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll, from personal perspective, similar to Councilmember Ward, I've got an immunocompromised person in my household. And so from the get-go, I've been incredibly careful, and I will continue to be so. I'll note that this emergency ordinance doesn't require us to meet virtually. So voting on it gives us the option, it gives us the flexibility, because we know that it's important. As it relates to strategies to get back, time-based strategies don't follow the trends. So you could put a time restriction, but if numbers spike, the time doesn't care. So really the strategies need to be based around what trends are happening in terms of case counts. And I'm perfectly fine with us to base the direction of the emergency ordinance on what's happening and build strategies to say, let's look forward. When can we start? When can the recreation department start having some in-person events that we're used to having? It's got to be driven by what's happening with the disease versus when we would like to start things.
Thank you. Councilmember Hill Smith.
Oh, just based on my own experience in the workplace, working for a company that does a lot of Zooming and did before the pandemic, it was not uncommon for people to sit around a table and use Zoom with the Zoom monitor on them, but also be talking to people in other states and other locations by Zoom. So you can do both, and it's really not that complicated if you just have your monitor, so that you can be flexible and allow some people to be in other locations but participate in the meeting, whether they're a council member or a citizen or a staff member.
Anyone else? Hearing none. Nicole?
You're voting on the ordinance as it was presented.
Yes, ma'am. It's a 60-day, as it presented, that starts upon March 6th, the expiration on March 6th. And it'll be for 60 days beyond that. Yes,
Mayor, I think that would require an amendment to the ordinance as written, because the ordinance as written has it taking effect upon approval, which would be tonight. What I would recommend is a friendly amendment that the language to that emergency ordinance will be changed to say that it will take effect upon the expiration of the current emergency ordinance, which would be March
I will
6th.
make that friendly amendment.
a second.
It was Councilmember Streetman and Councilmember Moy who offered the motion to approve, and that's a friendly amendment from the administrator. Do both of you agree?
I agree.
Well, it was a suggestion and from me, and then because I can't make amendments.
Well, that's the suggestion, but I'm just saying, since you offered it as a friendly amendment, a suggestion as a friendly amendment, unless someone wants to put it in the form of a formal motion, or
Do we need to?
I think Councilmember Bell echoed
Yeah,
the
I'm
friendly amendment.
happy to make it a formal amendment.
okay, someone was, and Mayor Carroll, you second, but I wasn't sure if there was a question mark after that or not.
No, I was actually asking for a second, but I'll second it.
All right.
Okay.
So, Mr. Mayor, this emergency ordinance will end in 60 days from March. What, the 6th? Okay. March, May, or May, my anniversary time? Okay, got it. May 7th? Got it.
Okay, so we have to do the friendly motion first, correct?
Correct.
No.
Okay. Yes, ma'am?
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Councilmember Popson,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Buchanan,
Aye.
Councilmember Moy,
Aye.
Councilmember Bell,
Aye.
Councilmember Pounds,
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman,
Aye.
Mayor Carroll,
Aye.
all in favor of the amendment. Now we're voting on the motion as amended.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Streetman,
Aye.
Councilmember Pounds,
Aye.
Councilmember Bell,
Aye.
Councilmember Moy,
Aye.
Councilmember Buchanan,
Nay.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Popson,
Aye.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Mayor Carroll.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-1.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on, miscellaneous business. This is actually going to be the fun part for tonight. And
Mayor,
yes, ma'am.
you skipped over item B under new
Oh, I'm
bills.
sorry, yeah,
resolution.
Public Works, excuse me. We get my paper so covered with writing on all the names, trying to keep up with everybody. Consideration of an ordinance 2021-03 and ordinance amending Title IV Public Utilities, Chapter 4, Commissioners of Public Works. This is a first reading. It really has to do with changing the election of commission members from a petition drive as same thing we did with council, where they pay a fee and run. And this is a first reading only.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion, hearing none.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Councilmember Popson,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Buchanan,
Aye.
Councilmember Moy,
Aye.
Councilmember Bell,
Aye.
Councilmember Pounds,
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman,
Aye.
Mayor Carroll,
Aye,
all in favor?
thank you. Well, my paper gets covered with writing as I go along here. Okay, moving on to miscellaneous business. We've got 3 items, actually 4 items, but the first 3 items, A, discussion of restriping and changes to the Isle Palms connector by SCDOT. Number 2, discussion of city's managed beach parking plan and consideration of options. C, discussion of status of eviction proceedings with the holdover tenant at Isle Palms Marina. And D is our next meeting, which is the regular meeting at 6 p.m. Tuesday, March 23rd, 21. However, viewers, because of needed legal advice, and I really hate to say all this, but because of needed legal advice, the following 3 items need to be discussed in executive session, after which we may take action. Those items are, again, the restriping and changes to the Isle Palms connector by SCDOT, discussion of the city's beach managed parking plan, and discussion of the status of eviction proceedings with the holdover tenant at Isle Palms Marina. Do I hear a vote to go into executive session? Second?
Second.
Discussion, hearing none. Nicole?
Councilmember Streetman,
Aye.
Councilmember Pounds,
Aye.
Councilmember Buchanan,
All right.
Councilmember Moy,
Aye.
Councilmember Bell,
Aye.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Councilmember Popson,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Mayor Carroll,
Aye.
all in favor. You're off record at 8:25.
Viewers, please hang in there. We'll be back.
Freaking ridiculous.
Ron, you tell us when we're live.
Live.
Okay.
We are currently live.
All right, welcome back, everyone. We extremely apologize for the lengthy executive session. No decisions were made. We are now coming back live, and we're back to miscellaneous business. A, discussion of restriping and changes to the Isle of Palms connected by SCDOT. We received a letter today from SCDOT concerning our concerns on the striping plans. We will put those on our city website tomorrow morning for everybody to see. So again, you will see where we are tied to SCDOT and the bridge. IOP.net was where you can find it. Okay, moving on. B, discussion of the city's managed beach parking plan and consideration of options.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion.
You may.
Hang on, I just noticed I didn't have the video on. I don't mind doing that in person. I'd like to make a motion while affirming the current 2015 parking plan and subsequent amendments that we continue to work with SCDOT to optimize available beach parking.
I'll second.
Second.
That. Jimmy Ward seconded that. Okay. Any discussion? Yes, sir. Mr. Moy.
Just a comment that, I think the city staff and this body are working hard to build relationships, and they strengthen relationships that exist and look for common goals. And I think we've demonstrated some success in the last couple of weeks, and look forward to continuing.
I totally concur with that. Okay, Nicole?
Councilmember Streetman,
Aye.
Councilmember Popson,
Aye.
Councilmember Pounds,
Aye.
Councilmember Moy,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Buchanan, Councilmember Bell,
Aye.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Mayor Carroll,
Aye.
all in favor?
Thank you very much. Discussion of status of eviction proceedings with holdover tenant at the Isle of Palms Marina. Do I hear any? Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion.
Any
I'd like to make a motion. We accept the recommendation of our legal counsel and have our counsel, along with the city administrator, draft a press release that would go out as a public statement in regards to that.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Got a double second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Nicole?
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Buchanan,
Aye.
Councilmember Bell,
Aye.
Councilmember Pounds,
Aye.
Councilmember Moy,
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman,
Aye.
Councilmember Popson,
Aye.
Mayor Carroll,
Aye.
all in favor?
Thank you very much. Ryan, do I hear anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Good night, everybody. Sorry for the